All right, so let's see how bad the damage is. Oh yeah. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're back in the shop and we're going to continue working on Patch Adams here. This is my 1997 Jeep TJ. I've been calling my Go-Kart just because it's so tiny. So yeah, this is kind of like my Go-Kart buggy build. I pretty much built it for the Kart Wars. That's going to be later this fall. We're going to be going head to head with a couple of competitors, including BleepinJeep, Thomas from Black and Blue, and a couple of others. And we're going to see who has the best Go-Kart buggy.
You threatening me?
So today I'm going to be addressing something that is more of a insurance policy than anything. Yeah, I'm going to be adding a pretty good amount of weight, but it's something that if I don't have it and I need it, then I'm done. So today what me and Cinnamon Roll are working on is we're going to get a skid plate underneath this thing. So it already has a skid plate for the cross member, but I need one for my motor, my oil pan, and I also need one for my automatic transmission. Those are pretty much low-hanging fruits on these TJs, and I don't have a lift on this. This has factory springs in the front, and then it has, I think it's got factory JLU springs in the rear. So, I mean, this is like a factory height vehicle. So I've got pretty, like my frame rail is not very high and my motor sits basically right there. So that's what we're gonna be working on tonight. Oh, and check out the new shirts. Yeah. Look, ain't that cool? So I know it's like almost summertime, but I do have hoodies as well. Check out that design though. Isn't that pretty cool? I kind of went with like a Vice City theme. I think they turned out great. And look at the detail, on the go-kart. That's nuts, ain't it? So I am selling the shirts and I'm also selling the hoodies. The shirts are $25, the hoodies are $45. Just hit me up on Instagram or Facebook, and if you're interested, I'll get you one. I also have some stickers. Yeah. And for $3 extra if you want dog hair on your shirts, Cinnamon Roll will hook you up. But that's enough with my shameless plug. Let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes over here. Cinnamon Roll says buy a shirt. So this is the whole kit that I got from Barnes 4-wheel drive. This is for a 1997 and up Jeep TJ with the 4.0. And it comes with obviously the skid. It comes with the little bracket right there so that I can change the oil. It's got the arms that mount to the motor mounts on both sides. And then it also comes with all the hardware. It looks like a bunch of grade 8 hardware. This is awesome. And my favorite part about all of this is they put this in a box, but like the actual skid itself, they just put a shipping label on. I guess they assumed that dragging this along jagged rocks on off-road trails is near about the same as FedEx ground. Cinnamon Roll's found a wasp. Hit it with some brake cleaner. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Ah! All right, sorry about that. I had to make sure my puppy didn't get stung. You can obviously tell this is some quality stuff. Look at the welds right there. It's just stacked dimes all the way around. It's even got gussets and stuff welded on right here, welded on both sides. I mean, this is made to take a beating. And you can see the bottom side there. It looks really good. I'm going to clean all this up really good, and then I'm just gonna hit it with some primer and then some paint because it does come with like a coating on here so that it doesn't flash rust. So it's a little oily. So I'm going to clean all this up and then hit it with some primer. So I'm just gonna take some brake cleaner and just put on a little rag. And I realize that this is a skid plate and that no one's ever gonna see the top side of this, but I still don't want it to rust. So I'm just gonna wipe it all down. I mean, look at all that. That's stuff that would have been in my paint and contaminated it. So now I'm gonna take all this stuff outside and hit it with a little primer and let it tack up. And then once it's ready to mess with, I'll bring it back into the shop. All right, so I have it all painted and check it out. I think it looks pretty daggone good for skid plates. I thought about just hitting it with primer and then going with a black, but that's boring. So I just hit it with the same color green as the Go-Kart, and I think it turned out pretty good. And mind you, a lot of people probably aren't gonna see this. I don't know, I'm probably the first person that's ever painted a skid plate on the bottom of their Jeep, this Detroit diesel green. So the paint that I used is this Seymour Paints, the big rig, and this is the Detroit diesel Alpine green. But this is the color of the lid, and that's what it comes out as. So it's a little bit different shade of green, but to be honest with you, I didn't primer any of this. I wiped it down with a brake cleaner, I hit it with a little bit of sandpaper, and I just painted it. Sometimes life is just too short to use primer. Like I said, this is a skid plate. All of this I plan on getting scraped off with rocks and dirt and debris and stuff like that. So I'm not really concerned with it, but I think it'll look cool. And it just makes it look a lot more interesting for YouTube. But as you can see, I have everything painted up. This is just one really thick coat of paint, and I think it'll be fine for what it is. So I need to get the Go-Kart to the lift side. So I'll probably go ahead and move this over there, and then we'll get the Go-Kart up in the air, and we will see about getting this installed. As I was filming, I noticed the cinnamon roll left us some shop brownies in the floor. So now I just have to get the dog turd up, and then I can get the Go-Kart on the lift. So as you can see, Patch Adams is on the lift, and it is almost ready for the skid plate. This skid plate from Barnes is actually only designed to go with the Barnes four-wheel drive cross-member skid plate, and obviously I do not have that. So if I had that Barnes skid plate, not this factory one, I could literally bolt that skid plate to this skid plate, but obviously I do not have that. So I'm gonna have to do some fabrication. Apparently I've already hit my automatic transmission oil pan right there, but it doesn't look like I've hit my motor. But yeah, that's definitely taken a hit, and that's recent. And so how the skid plate goes on is the arms that are right there, they're actually gonna connect to the pre-existing holes. All right, so now you can see the holes better. So we got two holes there in the motor mount, and if you turn to the driver's side, you got two holes right there. And so what you do is you fish these two tabs in that have nut zerts on the back. You fish these tabs in, and then you run the bolts into those tabs, which connects to this mount right here, which connects to the skid plate. So it's pretty simple. It's probably gonna be a little bit more complicated for me than it will be for you, just because I don't have that Barnes skid plate. And like I said before, you know, that skid plate from Barnes, it's already drilled and everything. So all I would have to do is just put this on. So now I've got to figure out how I'm going to connect this skid plate to the factory skid plate. And also, you don't have to do this on a lift. I'm doing it on a lift, that way I can put flashlights underneath it, and that way it's a little bit easier for filming. But I could have easily done this on the ground in my center bay. But just because I'm making a video and stuff, I want my lighting to be a little bit better, and I'm gonna be using that transmission jack right there to actually pick the skid plate up instead of just a regular floor jack. So we've got the skid plate right here. I'm going to set it on my transmission jack and get it into place, and I'm probably going to go ahead and bolt up the front and then see what I'm gonna have to do to make this skid plate work with my factory skid plate. So I'm gonna pop this on here, but I'm just gonna slide this right here and then get it into position and see where it's gonna land. So I'm about to start lining this up, and I figured I would clarify, but so you have a bent bracket, then you have a straight bracket. This is gonna be your driver's side right here. It's gonna go basically just like that. And then this side is basically gonna go just like this. See that? And I'm towards the back of the vehicle. So this is driver side, this is passenger side. So as you can see right here, this is where we're gonna be bolting this bracket to. So I've got a grade 8 bolt here, and got another one there. So these are the tabs that I'm talking about. And so what I'm gonna do is, hold it. I'm going to fish these in just like that, or I could go from the bottom. Yeah, that works. So I'm gonna fish those in and hold that bracket up. Get that started. So I have the arms all just loosely up there, just because I want to be able to move this around. This is one of those things that you're gonna have to tighten everything all at once so that you won't put anything in a bind. But I think that looks really cool with that green color. Man, that's awesome. So I did have to get my dad to come in and help me just because it was really difficult to hold the tabs. It was really difficult to hold the tabs and get those bolts started. So remember when I said that this skid plate would not work with this skid plate? Well, here's why. So if you see that, this has a kind of a stingray flange that comes up like a boat side almost, and it's contacting this factory skid plate right here. And then it's doing the same thing on the opposite side. So I'm either gonna have to cut this skid plate or cut this skid plate. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to cut right here and just like make this flat or something, maybe cut it right there and then right there. And then I'm gonna have to drill some holes right here to mount the skid plate right there. I think it's gonna work, but it's not just gonna be a bolt-on application as if it would be if I had the Barnes. I should have just ordered the Barnes skid plate. But I am trying to keep this build on a budget. So it's one of those things, I really needed an engine skid, but I didn't have the extra budget to get the cross member skid. So I just figured I got a welder, I got a grinder, I can make it work. So now I'm just gonna come in here and mark where I need to cut. And I think I'm just gonna go ahead and cut a little bit more forward just to give myself some room. Clearance that, put an X. That means cut. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. If I was smart, I would have done all my cuts and everything like that before I painted it. So I did clearance these corners off, and I hit it with some extra paint, and now I'm going to jack this back up and see where it lands. Oh, I'm not in the shot. There I am. All right, so I'm going to line this up. You can see right here, I know it's kind of hard with the camera, but I'm going to take the provided grade 8 hardware and go ahead and line this up. Like I said, everything is just loose as a goose right now, because I want to make sure everything clears. Okay, I got y'all a little better angle from the front, but this skid plate is all crooked. I think everything's going to clear. Just like that. Put the washer on, and then it comes with a locking nut. That's really nice. I need to go ahead, I need to straighten this up because this thing is not straight.
I said, well, you ain't that straight.
I think this is gonna work. So I'm going to drill some holes right here of where I want this to go. And then all we have to do is put the bolts in it and we're ready to slam this on some rocks. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and drill these holes. What you think? Got the holes drilled, and now I'm going to take this Allen head screw that has this flange so that it sits flush, and I'm going to push this up like that. I can just use, forgot I can just use the jack. So get that squared just like that, and now I can run this bolt somewhere. Gotta get to it. Sweet. So I've got that one started, and I'm not gonna tighten it up just yet until I get the other ones in. So now I've just got to get the rest of these three in, just like that one. So now that I have the rear bolts all tight, I'm going to pretty much bring this up just a little bit, like that. And now I'm gonna just come in here and start tightening things up. So the last thing is to get this plate in, and what I did was I put a good amount of anti-seize on this screw because I know that I'm going to be changing the oil in this a lot. So basically all you do is put it just like this and push up like so. So you just got to push up on it pretty good. Just tighten this down. And I'm not going to go crazy tight with this one because I know, like I said, I'm going to be changing the oil in this eventually. I got anti-seize everywhere. That's okay because we're probably about to go slam this on some rocks here in a couple of minutes. So that is basically everything that you would need. And honestly, I had to take extra steps because I had to drill those holes right there. But like I said, on the barn skid, it'll just bolt right in. So now I'm just gonna go around and just make sure that nothing's touching like exhaust or anything like that. So I may go around it one more time and just re-torque everything just to make sure that everything is good and tight. I got a couple of rock piles behind my shop and we may go test this thing out. So we are down here at the rock piles behind my shop, and we're going to be testing out the skid plate that I just put on. And my plan is to try to get this thing high centered, and I kind of want to get some nasty gashes in the skid plate. So let's see what I can do. so we are back in the shop and we're gonna see how bad we hit that skid plate. Because I definitely heard it scraping. All right, so let's see how bad the damage is. Oh yeah, check that out. That is awesome. So you can see here, I clearly used the skid plate already. Now, I'll be honest with you, I was picking some pretty terrible lines on those rock piles. I mean, that's pretty obvious that I was doing that. Basically, I was just putting the body of the vehicle on like the most jagged parts. So, you know, some of those probably could have been avoided, but there were some times when I was actually on that little rock garden thing that I was actually just trying to get off and not get stuck, and I was hitting that skid. The main thing that I noticed versus the last time I was on that little rock garden was before I kept getting hung up right there in front of this skid plate. Like I was just getting, like, I was using this as a shovel. But now that I have this full skid plate, it just pretty much carried me right along. So in my opinion, that's probably the best part of this skid plate, is that now that my factory skid plate isn't gonna be a shovel, it's just more of like a smooth transition. So either I'm gonna get stuck or I'm gonna just kind of mosey on over it. I'm not just gonna get hung up on that lip of that factory skid plate anymore. All right guys, that's probably gonna do it for this video. I appreciate y'all watching me put the skid plate on Patch Adams here, my Jeep TJ Go-Kart buggy thing. If you don't mind, hit that like button and make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any further content on this rig. That really helps out the algorithms and everything like that, and I would really appreciate it. But anyway guys, we'll see y'all next time. Thank y'all for watching 6 Feet Under Fab. We'll see you next week.